So welcome to the second live session of the course, Labor Welfare and Industrial Relations. I believe that you are having a wonderful outing with respect to the course. And I can see that and read that from the responses I'm getting, the feedback I'm getting with respect to the course, the content, the teaching, the learning, all these aspects. I was checking through any questions that are available. I've got a couple of them, but more than that, if people are available and if you wish to ask questions, please do stop me and ask questions. We can have a good discussion on that. That's what I can actually say about that. So with respect to the question that I've received, rather a concern is that, there are some assignments that are missed out and the particular person has asked on some leniency with respect to the working professionals that you might miss out on deadlines. So give us some leniency with respect to the marks, etc. So what I can say is that, there is no specific, demarcation or differentiation, or I do not distinguish you between you as an industry person or a student or anything like that, because for all of you are the participants, you are the students, whatever you call. For me, you are all learners, and I am also part of that. So this is what the answer to the question is. Leniency in the sense that I say this in every possible live session. For all the courses that I've done, I've just completed one live session for the learning and development course. And for other courses also, whenever I'm doing the live session, because this is a constant query that floods my email and I want to address it again and again so that it reaches the masses. Please do not worry about your assignment that much, because what this decides your what determines your final mark position would be the end term examination. Assignments do have a percentage into it, but if you have missed on one or two, that is not going to significantly impact your final standing. So this is what a motivation point could be for you. Please do not worry. If you have missed out on a particular assignment, I cannot do much on that. And that's not correct either, I believe so. If you have, let's say, missed out on something because of some emergency, no problem. Work on rest of your assignments. I think that you will be into your week 10. You would have gone through the thick of the courses by now, I'm certain, and that would give you a bit of confidence in how to go about for the interim examination. And that is what opening remark I needed to give with respect to this live session. So that was one query, rather a concern that came from one of the learner, and I thought that I should address that first. So that is one doubt with respect to the course. Some of the questions have come with respect to the code on Social Security, so I'll be having a brief discussion on that. But before venturing into that, if you recollect in the previous live session, we had a course outline discussion where we were looking into how the course has emanated, the course has evolved. So we look into all those aspects from understanding how even simple things like trade unionism, trade unions have evolved and emerged, and how the corporation of managers or management, they have also become united to, I will not use the word fight, but to negotiate with the trade unions, and how these things have emerged. What's the role of different stakeholders? What's the role of government in the whole scenario? We have all looked into that. We have looked into some welfare measures, etc. So since I'm not seeing any question, I'll go to the question based on the Social Security Code. What I've taken down as a note is that this code on Social Security is specifically something that is part of this labor course that is coming up, or that has come up with time. You will have a clear idea of that once you get into your 12th module, where I have categorically discussed on that specifically, but since to address your doubt, please understand it's an integration of the 9 labor laws that exist, be it the Companies Act, Insurance Act, Provident Fund, Miscellaneous Provisions Act, Employees Exchange Act, 59, Maternity Benefit Act, 61, Payment of Gratuity Act, 72, Cine Workers Welfare Act, 81, Building Other Construction Workers Cess Act, 96, Unorganized Workers Social Security Act, 2008. So it subsumes all these particular acts with respect to the code. The code has widened, if you ask me, the coverage, including the unorganized sector. That is something which is more critical when it comes to this particular labor code. Unorganized sector, fixed term employees and gig workers, platform workers, interstate migrant workers, in addition to all the existing employees. So this is what the beauty of the code is, and it has brought in all of these otherwise, if I can use the word, marginalized employees or workers to the mainstream. This is what the code is doing. Please do understand, when you talk about social security, it's beyond the functional assumption or functional word of social security. So it measures the protection afforded to employees, inclusive of all these aspects like gig workers and organized workers or platform workers, to ensure that they have access to all the basic living conditions like healthcare or income security, or be it old age compensation or unemployment, sickness, invalidity, work injury, maternity, all sorts of benefits that they are able to get, that is subsumed, that is being brought into it. Now we also see that specifically this unorganized worker, if you ask me, under the Code on Social Security 2020, specifically Section 2, so clause 86 defines an unorganized sector or unorganized worker, inclusive of a home-based worker, self-employed worker, or a wage worker in unorganized sector, and includes a worker in the organized sector who is not covered by the Disputes Act, that is Industrial Disputes Act of 1947, or the Chapter 3, that is chapter on EPF. So this is what is the classification, the definition of this unorganized worker. We also look into interstate migrant workers, as I mentioned. That is all these self-employed workers who have migrated from one state to another. They are also part of it. So interstate migrant workers are also included in this code. And gig worker, something which is of a larger concern. The Code on Social Security 2020, what I can see in Section 2, subclause 35, is that it defines a gig worker as a person who performs work or participates in a work arrangement and earns from such activities outside of the traditional employer-employee association or relationship. So this is what a gig worker is defined as in the Act. And when it comes to platform workers, the code defines in Section 2, subclause 55, a form of employment in which organizations or individuals typically have a online platform to access other organizations or individuals to solve specific problems or provide specific services in exchange of a particular sum of money or a particular payment. So this is what the labor code is all about. So first time in India, the newly passed labor codes provide for social security for be it gig workers, platform workers, everything within the unorganized sector. So this is what is crucial and critical about the gig workers and platform workers. They do get an extended coverage, because what I can understand from the code is that gig workers will now become eligible for life and disability coverage, maternity benefits, pensions, etc. Similarly, we see that the code has widened the coverage by including the unorganized sector totally, like let's say fixed term employees or interstate migrants, as I was mentioning. Another significant aspect when we look into this code, people have asked that apart from this inclusion of unorganized work sector, that is including platform gig workers, etc., what else is this there specific to NSB, National Social Security Board? National Social Security Board is something which the code gives a provision for. And I'm not going into the functions literally because you learn more of that in your module 12, but it is also a safety net whereby, it can have a lot of prevention against any sort of exploitation that can happen. That is something which is also significant when you look into this particular code. Then there is this career center, special provision for that under the code on social security. And here we see that there are typical chapters, provisions associated with that. Again, I'm not going into the details per se, but if you look into the code, and if you want to have a quick snapshot of what certainly entails that, I would say chapter 3 you focus, where you have where you get a clear understanding of EPF, Employees Provident Fund. Every establishment in which, let's say, 20 or more employees are employed need to have or give that. Then you can refer chapter 4, which looks into ESIC, Employees State Insurance Corporation, and what are the mandatory aspects like the number requirement that is required for the ESIC to be there. Then chapter 5, you can have a look where you look into the gratuity aspect. So every factory, be it a mine or oil field or plantation, port, railway company, all these comes under the ambit of gratuity. Chapter 5. 6 talks exclusively about the maternity benefit, that is to every establishment, as I mentioned, factory, mine, plantation, including all these aspects will also be subsumed under that. Chapter 7, you will have employees compensation, subject to the provisions of obviously the second schedule, if it applies to the employers and employees to whom the chapter 4, that is typically with respect to the insurance, does not apply. Then you have the chapter 8, that if you're interested, you can go forward with that, where you look into the social security and cess in respect of building and other construction workers, followed by chapter 9, where you look into the social security typically for unorganized workers. One of the most important chapters and additions that have come in this is chapter 9. So if you want to have a distinction between what was previously there and what is existing now, I would definitely suggest you, advise you rather, to go for chapter 9, have a reading of that, where the code looks into unorganized sector, looks into gig worker, platform workers, all the typical unorganized sector workers. Chapter, let's say 13 would be another interesting chapter, but if you are keen, you can look into employment information and monitoring the career, where the career centers are important and reflected there. Vacancies, persons seeking services of centers and employer, they are also part of that chapter. So there are a lot of chapters, but so the most core, interesting and relevant chapters associated with this syllabus are specifically these chapters. I repeat, 3 for Employees Provident Fund, 4 for Employees State Insurance Corporation, 5 for gratuity typically, and 6 for maternity benefit, 7 employees compensation, 8 social security and cess in respect of building and other construction workers, 9 and 13 for social security for unorganized workers, employment information and monitoring career respectively. So this would, I think, address the query that came in part of the labor code. And I hope that some glimpse into what it is at this point, that is 10th week, has come to you. You look into typical, I'll come to your question. You look into typical particular, aspects of labor welfare, industrial relations, this course. These are the most relevant chapters. So what is of interest to us would be all these welfare measures, be it maternity, be it with respect to insurance, be it with respect to work conditions, be it with respect to unorganized, workers, their work condition, their safety, hygiene, etc. So all these are typical, interest or areas of interest that is associated mainly with respect to us. So if you look into the typical structure, I have also devised the course in such a way that when module 3 is all about industrial disputes, the first two talks about largely the introduction. Module 2 was more about trade unions. We have emphasized in greater detail in the first live session. Module 3 looks into the industrial disputes, strikes, forms, effects of strikes, all the possible variations or flavors of industrial disputes, acts, etc. From module 4 to module 5, we look into labor welfare. So specifically addressing what are the possibilities that can come in, be it intramural labor welfare services or be it, the extramural labor welfare amenities that are there. Typically, I think we discussed that in module 4. In module 5, we look into the possible social security benefits. So what we see, the social security element in today's labor code is mainly being adapted from that labor welfare part, social security legislation's evolution and growth. So you have old age provision for that against employment. You have gratuity, existing social security laws. Then we look into the third part of labor welfare, which is more the compensation, the provident fund, what are typically included in that, what are typically excluded in that. So all the typical aspects related to that. So with respect to the question that was asked, Debashish Satpathy, which book is best to refer as far as labor laws and industrial relations is concerned? Please go through the course syllabus. You will definitely see the books that I've suggested. To name, it would be one, industrial relations and labor laws by Arun Monappa. So that would be a better book. But you can always refer to the textbooks that have been cited even in the course syllabus typically. So when you're looking into labor welfare and industrial relations, these books might not be too relevant to cover the labor codes. All other factors might be already there that might be, that I would have been covered. So that's why I'm not delving more into that. But rather my focus in the initial itself was more of the labor codes. So while I floated the course itself, I had made a categorical statement, and being just a textbook reflection, it would be more of a critical understanding with respect to the latest updates and whatever is coming up. That would be more keenly observed or done in with respect to this particular course. So any particular question? Jaya Kalla, good evening. Sam, good evening. So I hope you are having a good learning experience with respect to the course, with respect to the particular learning process. And I believe that whatever we have discussed mostly would be practically also more relevant, especially once you come to the module 10, module 11, module 12, etc. It is clearly very critical. Okay, I'm having a question. Price. the question is, an employee signed appointment letter stipulates a 15-day notice period. Subsequently, 15-day notice period. Subsequently, the company unilaterally issued a policy extending the notice period to 3 months. Approved by managing director, but not signed or formally accepted by the employees. All right. In such circumstances, can the company legally enforce the extended 3-month notice period or deduct salary from an employee who resigns after serving the original 15 days as per the appointment letter? Now, there's a catch here. What is typically given in that the employee's offer letter? That is, let's say, when they have stipulated a 15-day notice period, subject to the change in time to time, the management decision, if any particular such statement is there at that point or at the end of the offer letter, then this may stand valid. Yes, is it only that, or at the end of all the terms and conditions, the management is free to change its terms and conditions anywhere it is written with respect to the notice period? Because a careful reading is required with respect to that offer letter. If it is not given, then that employee is in the right side, but otherwise I am a bit skeptical that there might be a possibility that the organization might be able to put some sub-clause, right? Not maybe explicitly, but implicitly that, but the organization reserves the right to change the laws as per their distinction or as per their understanding without prior approval. If there are some statements with respect to that, so we are not clear with respect to that. If you are very sure, Ajay Shukla, that the letter is blunt, the offer letter is blunt with only statement that 15 days is given and there is no particular statement that is there or attached as an addendum or corrigendum, then the employee is on the right side. Otherwise, I feel that when we are when we are discussing that the company is doing that unilaterally, it might not be the case actually. Right? Some stakeholders would have been already involved. They would also play it safe, and they would also play it in a very systematic manner. So we are not sure about what the exact offer letter is. Yeah, so typically it again depends on what is the unilateral way that it has seen. The company cannot legally enforce a 3-month notice period or deduct salary if there has been no discussion and there has been under the table movement and it has simply done that. That's my take on it. But again, for that, you need to have a very clear reading of the offer letter. So I've given both sides of the point. So it's up to you to make that call. Any other questions? So I'm really happy to see the active participation of you all. This is one course which I'm running. I also mentioned in the previous course live session also that there might be some courses that I've already floated. We are also doing some research with respect to counterproductive organizational behavior, also looking into. Okay, there's some add-on to that. We prefer a swift transition in case of separation. Alternate processing behavior as well. Okay, then it's pretty simple. I think they are itself told that the max of trading period of 2 weeks. Then I think the employee is on the right side in that particular case. What I was mentioning was with respect to the courses, we have one learning and development. In the next term, you'll have AI in HRM, as well as we'll have organizational behavior course. Apart from that, feel free to collaborate, feel free to interact, with respect to internship, projects, works, etc. I'm also trying to bring out new courses, new workshops, especially we are working on workplace toxicity. We are developing a course on survival guide into a toxic workplace. So I'll try to share the details now. You can have a look. We are floating it this Saturday. If you are available, please do join. We can have a discussion with respect to that. So this is a particular, brochure on that, a particular pamphlet on that, where you can see that we are trying to have a survival guide in toxic workspace. This is upcoming on 2025, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. This will be a online workshop, which will be, based on or facilitated by a discussion, group discussion, case studies, etc. So we are trying to prepare that, and we'll try to see you there. And this is one of the avenues. There are other possible, ways in which we can actually collaborate. NPTEL courses are coming, like as I mentioned, in the next version, AI in HRM is coming. It's also that we are also going to get organizational behavior, individual dynamics in organization also in the next semester. Okay, so with respect to apprenticeship, we have categorically discussed, Debashish. There is a particular lecture associated to that. So I'm not going into detail, but if you feel that, that a particular lecture is not enough, because in that case, then I can share more materials associated with that. You can write to me. But in our module, there is one full lecture. Right? I don't remember the exact number, but there is one full lecture that is dedicated to internships. So this is something which I would certainly request you to go through, so that you get a particular idea with respect to the apprenticeship and acts related to that. But still, if you have any doubt with respect to that, you can always write back. Look into the module 8 specifically, module 10 specifically, which will give you some more idea with respect to apprenticeship. And coming back to the discussion, Shantanu, the final examination would be more of multiple choice, multiple select questions. So it will not be descriptive. So I hope there is clarity in that. So if there are no more questions, I believe that you are having a good time with the particular course. Happy to see your comments. Write to me, discuss with me. If you have any doubts, feel free to interact with me. You have my credentials. You can always have a productive discussion. We can look into avenues of collaboration also. Otherwise, thank you for listening to me patiently during this live session, and also going through that. I think this will be the 10th week, 10 weeks of courses, and I would definitely say the next 2 weeks would be more interesting. That will come to you because that will give you the relevant recent changes that are happening and happened in the domain of labor welfare and industrial relations, especially with respect to what we tried to give you a trigger with respect to the discussion on labor welfare and industrial relations. I thank once again to all the individuals, learners, participants who are part of this particular course. I also would like to thank my TAs for doing a wonderful job. And I would also like to thank NPTEL as well as all the technical people who are working behind this and making this possible so that it reaches to you in a very streamlined manner, in a very efficient manner with proper dates and proper deadlines. So that's why I started with the initial query that can you be more lenient? I cannot be more lenient because it is an end result of lot of people, their hard work, their efforts. So it would be wrong from my side if I try to even pitch in for some leniency. Be you be student or industry personnel or faculty members, I would definitely urge you, rather request you to have or maintain or honor the deadline that you have. Once it is passed, we cannot do much. If there is a generic error in any of the assignments, we can rectify that. But we have vetted that again and again, so the chances are very, very less. Other than that, we will not be able to do much with respect to that. Nothing is complete. You always have your end term exam to get good marks, good credits, good ranking. Now, there are a lot of possibilities that NPTEL also brings in. As students, you can see that NPTEL stars are getting the opportunity for pre-doctoral fellowships, internship opportunities, and also make use of those. Get good scores, get good ranks in your NPTEL courses, be it the NPTEL stars, and definitely a lot of opportunities will come your way. Don't just shy away. Try to apply. You may be working with any of the professors in IIT in the future. But this is something which is there for the students. For the industry personnel, there are a lot of lot of more new courses coming this way, coming your way with respect to the NPTEL courses in the SWAM platform. Can definitely look into that. As I mentioned, specific to my courses, there are 2 that will be coming next term, but I'll also come up with the 3rd live session possibly to clarify all your last minute doubts. But thank you otherwise for listening to me patiently. Thank you. See you all. Bye-bye.